Hello, everyone. It's 7 o'clock. I am Gwen Clayton, your awesome host for the evening. Welcome to Krampusnacht and book launch. We're here tonight to celebrate the launch of my latest book, Zinfandel's Grimoire. This was just released November 3rd. You can get it on Amazon. Now we move on to talking about Druidry and the Ogham. And joining us here tonight is John Drum, who I know as Drum, my Ogham teacher, and he is the archdruid for, and I'm going to butcher this, Féin?
nDraíocht Féin.
Okay, I told you I'd butcher it. Okay, so John, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And I just want to read a little piece about, I guess I didn't. Okay, never mind. I'm not going to read anything. So tell us, first of all, so I just want to let people know that I made up a religion, but it's very heavily based on ADF Druidry. And I love ADF Druidry. I think it's a fabulous organization and a fabulous belief system. And I love it a lot. And I like how we have the Ogham alphabet, which I'm going to have Drum talk about in a little bit. And I like how the spirituality is seen in the, it is animistic, and there is a lot of it's an earth-centered spiritual practice, but I like how divinity is seen as the ancestors, nature spirits, and shining ones. So, John, start off by telling me a little bit. Well, start about telling. Can't talk. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm a druid. I've been a druid for a long time. I started really following pagan paths when, after reading Edith Hamilton's mythology in 8th grade, and I thought, wow, this is pretty interesting. And I thought that the gods were still alive. You know, there was a course, a test I had, and they said it was a true-false question. It said the Greek gods are still worshipped today, and I said true because it surely made sense to me. And gave her back, and it said false, and well, that started all this stuff. I read a book called Drawing Down the Moon in the early 1980s, and it talked about Reformed Druids in North America. So I wrote to the resource in the book and said, hey, I'd like to know about the new Reformed Druids in North America. And they said, hey, we're starting this new group called nDraíocht Féin. And so I joined nDraíocht Féin. I was one of the first members to join. And so it's been kind of an evolving practice for me. I really like the way we do things. It's a devotional-based practice where we build relationships between ourselves and, as you mentioned, the ancestors, the nature spirits, and the shining ones.
So ancestors and nature spirits are kind of obvious. You can get that by context, but who are the shining ones?
The shining ones are the gods and the goddesses. So really the ancestors are ancestors of our family, or ancestors of our heart or hearth, and ancestors of the place. The nature spirits are those spirits of nature around us, seen and unseen. And the shining ones are the gods, basically, to kind of make it gender neutral in a way. The ancestors are those who we can get guidance from, and the nature spirits are those who teach us about the cycles in our lives, and the gods are really the ones that can work some magic, and that can work with the laws of physics and make them different. So when we need something done that kind of defies the laws of physics, we look to the gods. Help me with this, help me with that.
Okay. So Zinfandel uses the word awen an awful lot. It is kind of like the word aloha or shalom. Use it as a greeting, you use it to say goodbye, use it to mean all kinds of things. And then the symbol itself, it's three sticks with dots above them. So tell me about the symbol and about the word.
Well, the symbol is used, I think, more broadly in Obad or other Druidic traditions. And to me, the symbol really is, I've always seen it as the three rays of the midsummer sun. Uh, just it's the rays of the sunshine that are kind of emanating from a particular source. For Awen is inspiration, or this what I would call the spirits of inspiration. In ADF practice, there's part of our ritual we call the spirits of inspiration, and I think that inspiration is what drives our creative process. And so the reason we call to it in our rituals is, we usually say things like, honey our words, or silver our tongue, basically so that we can express ourselves better and that we can, so that we can speak better and think better. And it's the inspiration that arises in us that helps create things. And I think that in many Druidic traditions, ADF and Obad and others, it's this Awen, this creativity that is a driving force in the work that we do.
What is the Ogham?
The Ogham. Okay, well, just some brief history on the Ogham. The Ogham is a glyphic system or writing system that developed in the early in the Common Era, probably between the years 300 to 600, and it's kind of a stark representation of, I call them trunks and branches. There's typically there's a trunk, which is the center line, and then there are lines that cross it, typically. So horizontal lines, diagonal lines, lines to the right, lines to the left. And these lines were originally alphabetic characters, first described in the Book of Ballymote, which is a 14th century document. And it talked about different Ogham systems. And the way that it's described there is they were ways of learning the alphabet. So there was a tree Ogham and a color Ogham and an animal Ogham, so that I would say different letters were the beginning of words in Gaelic, for example, and those words people would learn the alphabet by learning these letters. So the common system that's used in Ogham is called Bailúsh Nan, which is or Bailúsh Farn, which is the first three letters, B, L, and then F. And so B in the tree Ogham, B would be Bay is the birch tree, and Lush is the rowan tree, and Farn is the alder tree. So people would identify different things with these different characters. And what we find historically is that in Southern Ireland and in the Western British Isles, there are Ogham that are found on stones, basically on the edge of stones. Many of them are basically commemorative, saying remembering a person or something that happened in a particular place. It may have been the case that there were Ogham written on wood, but they just don't exist anymore. We do see in the lore some descriptions in the Wooing of Attain, for example. We see a description of some Ogham cut into a stave that was left, and that Ogham had a significance, but we really don't know what those Ogham, what they meant at the time in a magical sense, or how they were really used. Using them as a divination tool, which is what we do now, is kind of a more modern pursuit or modern technique. I use it as a divination system. I picked it up from Colin and Liz Murray. They had a book called The Celtic Tree Oracle in the late 1980s, and that's where I learned it. So, a little bit of information.
How accurate is it?
Well, that's an interesting question. What I used to do when I used to do readings for people, I typically will do timeline readings that are good for about 6 months, and so I would write it down and give it to the person, and then if I'd see them again, I would do another reading, and we would kind of compare the timelines to see how things have progressed. As with any divinatory system, it's really a suggestion of what's going to happen, not the absolute, it must happen this way. So, I mean, I think that it's fairly insightful. I know people who draw Oghams draw an Ogham every day. You can either do that as kind of insight into what your day is going to be or a reflection on what your day has been. And I think it's fairly interesting. There was a grove in ADF that wrote down their omens for all their rituals. And at the end of they were around for about 6 years. And at the end of that time, if you really look through the Ogham readings, you can kind of see the progression of the grove as it began, the optimism, and then as things were kind of winding down. So how accurate is it? Probably, 50-50. I'm going to say, just to be on the safe side. But I think that there's a lot of applications there, and I think it can work very well for.
So what is the value of any divination system, but especially Ogham?
Well, I think that any divination system, I like to consider it as like plugging into the cosmic switchboard. Basically, what we're doing is we're using what's called sortilege, kind of the random draw of characters to gain some insights. So to the scientist would say, well, you've just picked 7 tiles randomly, and there's really no relationship to anything. But I think that a person who believes in divination or believes has magical connections with these tools, they would say, well, these things give me some insight. They help me understand, what's going on right now in my world, what's just happened, what's happening at this time, and what's going to happen in the future. So I think it's an insightful tool for self-reflection.
Okay. So final question. What are the requirements if someone wants to join ADF, what are the requirements?
The requirements are it's $30 a year, fundamentally. What I would, for people who are thinking about joining ADF, for $30 a year, you get a lot of coursework. It's self-directed coursework, but you, as long as you're a member, you can do whatever courses you want to do and turn them in. Someone will review them, and I guarantee you will learn a lot of stuff. We do have some guidelines, if you look on our website, that tells you what we believe and what our attitudes are. And, I'd welcome anyone to take a look at ADF.
All right. Thank you so much. And you have a blessed Yule. Well, do we celebrate Yule?
I do, absolutely. I celebrate the winter solstice, but Yule it is.
The winter solstice. Okay. All right. Well, you have a happy solstice.
And you too, thank you so much for having me, and blessings to you.